Welcome to the Talk Tuesday video series. Today's topic is implementing core vocabulary while teaching literacy. In this video, speech-language pathologist Caitlin Sloan will demonstrate how to use core and fringe vocabulary during literacy instruction. Caitlin's going to talk to you about aided language modeling and how to connect that to literacy activities with things such as predictable writing, commenting, and always remember that wait time. So let's get started.
All right, guys, so the materials that you need are these core boards and then any fringe vocabulary that is needed for the story. The core boards, as you go through, it's important to point to the word of the week and to model the words that you're using throughout the story. The fringe vocabulary show the more content-specific words that are from the story. You can also use the numbers and the colors that are on your fringe board on the folder. And also think about that commenting, such as they could say, I like it, I don't like it, those type of things as they're reading the story.
One of the resources that TAALC has for implementing core vocabulary is a core word of the week. Within that resource, it takes each one of the core vocabulary words and comes up with ideas for possible activities and conversation topics on how you can emphasize that particular word. So if your word is what, you can play a matching game and say, what card do you think will be the same? Or what color is, and we can talk about colors of different things. We also include ideas for books. So we can look at science books and think about experiments and what do you think will happen? Or we can use literature and read stories that include the word what over and over again so that you can model it multiple times. In today's video, we are going to use the Very Hungry Caterpillar that Caitlin has adapted for use with her students and for use for online instruction.
These are great resources for both the speech-language pathologist and the teacher. I know as a speech-language pathologist, I tend to focus one lesson a week with that literacy. In my school, one of the great things with that is I teach it one day and then the teachers can go back throughout the week and read that story again, continue to work on that core word. They can also get at some of their academic goals, such as those basic concepts with those. And then it gives teachers and the paraprofessionals and parents a good idea of other activities to do on their own and ways to really focus on that word when you're not in the room as a speech-language pathologist. So this example that I'm going to go over, this was actually adapted to be sent out as an instructional video for parents and the teachers during our NTI days. But this is something that you can also use on a smartboard in the classroom. With this, I did it on a PowerPoint, so I was able to adapt it where it could be interactive for our students that may not have the same, or might need some help with some of those motor skills, so they might not be able to write or cut, but they could click on something on a screen or a smartboard so they can still engage in the literacy activity. We'll play a little bit of this. We're going to pause and we're going to talk about the importance of wait time. I'm going to point out how you can model these words throughout the story, and then also how to use that predictable chart writing so we can tie it to literacy. All right, so here's an example of the word what for the Very Hungry Caterpillar. Today we will be reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar, and we're going to work on the core word what. If you are using the TAALC Project's core board, the word what is in that orangey color and it is on the top left side of the board. So again, I was using this with my parents over our NTI day, so that was a kind of a clue to help them find the word what so they could model it.
The Very Hungry Caterpillar. By the light of the moon, a tiny egg lay on a leaf. Can you find the egg?
So this is just an adapted book. These pages, there's no core words, but we are asking the students with some of those, for some of that receptive vocabulary, like can you find the egg or can you point to something? But we haven't quite gotten into modeling the core words on these next few slides. And then I'm going to play the slide, and since this was adapted to be sent home with parents, the red arrow is pointing to the word what, but if you are reading this, you can point to the word what on your core board to model it as you're reading, or even on the book page, because it is the same symbol as the core board.
On Monday, he ate through one apple. He was still hungry. What did it eat?
So when I clicked it, it put the arrow on the core word what, so we're modeling that word, and you can also model it on the device and the core board. And then I'm giving wait time for my students. On this page, they have a choice, and it said, what did he eat? And I'm giving about 10 seconds before they are asked to click.
It ate. Click on what it ate.
And so after you give wait time, the student can use the smartboard or the PowerPoint to click on it, so they're not required to necessarily cut or write here. And this is that predictable chart writing where they're filling in a sentence. So on my PowerPoint, when they clicked on it, it moved the word over, so then it filled in the complete sentence. One thing that you can do with this is when you use these little predictable chart writing, you can go back throughout the week and read back over what they wrote. A lot of my teachers use this as their writing as well, because it's connecting it to that literacy.
Caitlin, I noticed when you clicked on the correct answer, the apple, it ate an apple. We heard the clapping and we got the movement. What happens if they clicked on the cake and ice cream?
So I'll click on that real quick. So on my PowerPoint, it has a bound, but it's showing that it's incorrect. So if a parent is doing with them or the student is doing it on their own, it's giving them that feedback so they know what's correct and what's incorrect. So the rest of the PowerPoint is a lot like this. We model the word what, we're giving wait time, and then the predictable chart writing is a part of that. I usually have an iPad with me, and I model on the iPad the word as I'm saying it, as I'm reading. And then the paras in the room or the teacher in the room will also model it on the students, either on their folder or their device. They're getting all those repetitions and all those models, and we give the wait time for them to where they can answer or to select that core word as well. So that's probably it for that PowerPoint.
I think that was really good. Is there anything else we need to think about?
I think that it's really important. I mean, probably a lot of people that are doing this already know this, but my experience is the wait time. I feel like that's the most important thing. Is it's great that you're modeling, but give them the chance to respond. The core vocabulary, as most of you all know, it makes up about 80% of the things that we say. But then in classrooms, we know that we do need some of those fringe words, so the things that are a little less frequent and more content specific. One thing that I really enjoy about a lot of our fringe with our literacy is that a lot of times it works on some concepts. So some of the fringe that you can see are those color concepts, and those are great skills to continue to model, and that's on your core board, but those are fringe vocabulary words. I know in a lot of my classrooms we're working on counting and asking how many of things that they're in a story or objects that they have. That number fringe is really great to model throughout the story. And for example, in the Very Hungry Caterpillar, they could count and then they could tell us how many to get at some of those other more academic concepts. While it's not the core vocab, it is an important skill for a lot of our students to have. And for example, with Very Hungry Caterpillar, you can work on those categories because they're foods or desserts or insects. And so with that fringe, it does help with those academic skills and development of those concepts.
So to expand a little more on how to use core vocabulary and fringe vocabulary with literacy, we don't want to forget about our middle school and high school students. We have The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and we also have Black Beauty. I will say, for the books Caitlin has created and for the books that the TAALC project has online, one of the requirements in using any of these types of adapted versions is that you have a hard copy of the book yourself. We do not want to violate copyright laws. You are allowed to use adapted versions of books as long as you have an actual hard copy of the books. All right, thank you for participating in our Talk Tuesday How Do We Do It series on core vocabulary and teaching literacy. If you have any questions, feel free to contact talk@uky.edu. Thank you and have a great day.